Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Dan Melkarski with iFundTraders, and I want to walk you through a trade of the day video. I'm going to try to do this a couple of times a week for our students and also for the potential new students that we're going to have that continually ask me, can I please have a free pass to your chat room? I want to see what you guys do. Can I get in there? So the reason I'm going to do some of these videos is so you can get a look at it, and some of them will be step by step on a chart, like this one will be with a lot of education. Some of them will just be real-time clips from the room that you can watch, but they're meant to be a little bit of an instructional review. Now this is obviously not going to be as detailed as if you had already been through the training. A lot of our students that have already been trained will understand some of the terminologies I'm going to use. So this is also for them to continually review and brush up on their skills. So if you have more questions or you want to know more about it, then please feel free, contact support at iFundTraders.com. So let's go ahead and get started. Now this is a counter trend scalp trade, which for a new trader I highly recommend you avoid until you've become more consistent as to trading with the trend. As you're about to see, I'll walk you through these charts, the power of the moves of the trend. Now if you happen to miss one or you happen to be in a trending move, it's also just as important to know the high probability times that the trend is about to end, so that you can take profits at the appropriate place instead of giving it all back. So whether or not you take the actual trade in the opposite direction and try to capitalize on the counter trend move, or you just know when and where to tighten up and take the majority of your profits at a high probability turn, I think it's important for both of those reasons. That's the intent of this video. So what you can see here is that we had a bearish gap in JP Morgan, and after the first 30 minutes or so of trading, it did not make any solid attempt to fill this gap. Left behind a topping tail, moving averages caught up, the short-term MAs we use are the 8 and the 20, and you can see this looks fairly bearish here. Okay, decent pivot put in, little 15-minute tail, no follow through to the upside, and on the 15-minute chart, 5-minute chart, we have a pretty bearish pattern. All right, so had we been watching this right at this moment, this would become an ideal short scenario. Okay, I would look to short underneath this tail bar, stop over the high, look for that pivot to break, and down the stock should come. 15-minute chart is showing the same thing. Very bearish looking 15-minute chart. Little green bar ignored here, not a textbook kind, but one nonetheless. And if this continues lower, we would just stay on a trail mode looking for a bar by bar trail or the 8 MA break. All right, so that would be the proper setup. This is the with the trend portion of the play. I just was not looking at the stock, did not see it at this time, but I wanted to show you where this setup should have taken place, and then I'll show you the counter trend move that we ended up picking off when I told the room cover your short if you're in it, and I'm going to look to go long and make a little money on the opposite move. So as we move forward here, you'll see the 5-minute trade triggers. Okay, this low breaks, and now we're starting to get the move down. The pivot is now broken, and this should produce the move downward. Okay, a few bars later, you can see we've had a very nice follow through to the downside. Now, interesting to note here is the distance that this drop has created from the 20 MA. Also notice the distance from the 200 of both the price and the 20 period moving average. So we have this massive space between the MAs, and price is separating from both of them. Now when price starts to separate from the 20, and you can see this entire move is below the 20, there's an effect that's either going to be a snapback toward the moving average, or the price is going to slow down and pull the moving average closer to it. You cannot maintain a massive separation like this. How do you know what massive is? That's a lot more in detailed training. We cover that in our course, but nonetheless, that's what we're looking for. Now you get a little bit of a reversal sign here, a little bit of a red bar that turns green. It's not a huge tail. It's a decent looking turn bar. So here's the first time you would start to look to maybe tighten up your stops, take a little profit, and see how this bounce comes forward. If you were going to try the initial long here, you would go over this high, stop under this low if you were going to try the initial long, and it looks like a decent opportunity. The only thing we didn't really have in here on the smaller time frames, which I don't have up, is on the 1 and 2 minute chart, you really didn't have a couple of attempts, a couple of failures for the buy setups to work. It was really just powering down on the smaller time frames. So this really, to me, wasn't the ideal, let's go all in, let's really hammer this thing. You'd take a little bit or just kind of watch and let this play out a little bit further. All right. Now, at this point in time, you can see where the stock has made an attempt to go lower, okay, and has not gone much lower. So we're starting to form a little bit of a bottom and support. The 8 MA has closed the gap. And this now looks like an ideal time for the stock to roll over if it's going to do so. All right, if this is going to continue lower, if this is going to be a secondary move down, this is the ideal location to look for your sell setup on the 5-minute chart. And we get it. All right, this is a very nice looking trigger. Red bar taking out the green bar. Okay, did not challenge that prior pivot low. So this appears to be a very good sell setup. But I want you to notice something, is watch what happens right here. You see how the follow through on this sell setup was weak? If you look at these prior lows right here, okay, if you look at the low of this tail and the low of this bar and you come across here, you don't really make any significant follow through. You notice that? So this big monster looking sell setup has very limited, if any, follow through to the downside. Okay? And now here again, if this is going to fail and go higher, okay, or go lower, that we're at the 8MA, we should get the next sell setup. If we do not roll over here, not only do we have lack of follow through off the 5-minute sell, if we don't sell over here, we're probably going to come back and at least check this pivot high, check the 20MA, or check this pivot low. Now, on a bigger time frame, I want you to see what this pattern looks like. Okay, when we get over here in the 15-minute chart, we're going to take a look at what this area actually starts to look like. The other thing I want you to take note of is it's 11:15. All right, that's a key reversal time for us. 11:15, we look for things to, stall or possibly turn and come the other direction into the early part of lunch. Now on the 1-minute chart, which I do not have up, again, I'm trying to conserve space for the video. On the 1-minute chart, what you'll notice is what we call market law 4. It's something we train our traders to recognize, and that's the change in trend. When there's 3 or more lower lows and a significant low is not made on the 4th or 5th attempt, that tends to be a change in direction. This noise on the 5-minute, or this failure to go lower, was a very clear example of market law 4 on the 1-minute chart. So we had failure to make a new low after making a series of new lows, and this becomes the opportunity right here. If this sell setup is not going to work, we can say that there's a good chance this is put in the bottom for the morning, and we're going to rally back up here towards the 20MA. Okay? Now, right here, guys, you see this early part of this bar? For me, this was the trigger. All right, when this sell setup did not trigger, right, did not take out the low, it punched through the 8, it punched through the half century number, punched through the 50. Right here is when I started to trigger my trades. Okay, and then you can see that we got the nice follow through bar, and the target we were looking for was up here near the 20MA, possibly rallying up to this pivot depending on the 15-minute chart. All right, so target was hit initially, and then we got a little bit more follow through. Okay, so that was a trade on the 5-minute chart. Now on the 15-minute chart, I want you to notice why I thought this was a good counter trend scalp. Look at this drop on the 15-minute chart. Again, notice the separation, the space from the 8, the space from the 20, the space from the 200. We're getting this massive separation. And then look what we get here. See this? That's what we call an NRB. Very powerful, powerful bar and the right location. This is the right kind of setup for the NRB to be powerful. This is also the completion. This is that area right here. This is the 11:15 completion. So when this high is taken out, that's triggering on the 15. At the same time, it's triggering the break of the 8 on the 5. And you see the target up here near 3880 is the 8MA on the 15. So we have a 20MA on the 5, 8MA on the 15, a lot of separation, nice move for the counter trend scalp, and there's our target. Okay, stops were set under the low, so you had a 10-cent risk going for a 20-cent gain. Always a nice ratio to have, a 2-to-1, especially on a counter trend. Minimum you should have 1-to-1, and an expectation of success 80% of the time. And if you can get good at the counter trend scalps, guys, you can build your success to be 85-90% of the time that you'll find this right area. And as long as you get that 2-to-1 target, it's a winning combination. Okay, now just to show you not all the entries, but just a glimpse at some of the entries that were made. There were some entries made a little before and a little after. I'd like to take a range of entries, but here's the price, 38.51. I think this is only 3,000 shares. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're only seeing 3,000 shares. I had a little bit more than that before and a little bit more after, kind of working this area off that 1- and 2-minute chart. But you see the main ads right here at 11:21. So this is the 11:15 bar. Completes, here's 11:20, and then right over 50 right there, there's the trigger, and then you see the price. Just drill it. Okay, Just take it, take it, take it, take it, and then targets are up here. All right. And it wasn't a huge trade, guys. Like I said, counter trend scalp, not looking to make a ton of money on the trade, trying to make about $1,000 on it. Ended up with a little over $700. So overall, for just being in the trade for, a few 15, 20 minutes, it's not a bad way to put together a day. You find a couple of scalps like this, hook into a couple of nice trends like this, and it's not too difficult to put away a few $1,000s. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this little trade of the day review, and look forward to seeing you at future lessons.